last year. The Bitcoin Trust that was created by BlackRock, we are an investor in that. I'm proud to tell you that because I wanted to send a message to those guys that we're in the game with them. But they have not raised any money yet. So the institutions are still not there. Just imagine if a couple of these institutions pick up this idea that we're all onto.
Hey, Richard, I just want to say really quick, isn't it also the most bullish signal that they're even talking about this at Davos? Like how worried that the fact that it's gotten so big over the past few years that it's even on their radar?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, Christine Lagarde has been very negative Bitcoin for a long time. And I think that is just very indicative to your point of how concerned they are about Bitcoin and the threat it poses to the traditional system. But Mooch, I like you, I'm sure, know a lot of people that work with Jamie. He's a smart guy. There's no way that he doesn't understand Bitcoin. And it just makes me very suspect that he's just deliberately misunderstanding it for the narrative to try and trip it up.
So you think that he's basically... Yeah, go ahead.
No, if you don't mind me interrupting, what do you think it is then? 'Cause we both know how smart he is. So is that just to help him with the regulators? Is that... Why would he take a posture like that? I'm sure it's well calculated. What do you think his thoughts are behind it?
I think to your point, I mean, the Davos crowd really do not like Bitcoin and really want to try and undermine it as much as possible, to delay adoption so that they can get whatever CBDCs out there into the public arena as quickly as possible. Because I do think this is part of what awaits us over the next 3 to 5 years. And slowing down Bitcoin's adoption before that happens is probably one of the key goals, I would suggest.
It's interesting because I think you have a bit of a watch what they do and not listen to what they say sort of situation, because JPMorgan has actually been relatively involved in blockchain and Bitcoin for many years. I mean, I interviewed Stuart Popejoy from Cadena recently, who literally that project was born of JPMorgan coin and a private blockchain being developed at JPMorgan years ago. And we know that JPMorgan's using the technology. They just trademarked a wallet. So why would they be? I mean, is this a case of the CEO just bowing to the pressure of the clientele and saying, even though I hate it, we need to do this? Or is it literally just, as you said, he's just sort of keeping the brakes on while they work on their own level of adoption, or I won't say filling their bags, as people are saying in the comments. I don't believe that. But
yeah, I'm not sure I believe that. I'm not sure that Jamie Dimon's going into the market on behalf of JPMorgan trying to buy as much Bitcoin as he has. I don't think that's what's happening. I think that there is a focus on CBDCs, and I think that talked about this with Samson now, but the point being that you're not going to be able to buy Bitcoin easily once CBDCs arrive. So the longer that they can delay adoption until that point, then I think that's probably the key goal here. As for Jamie Dimon, he still keeps saying blockchain, not Bitcoin, which is weird because he flipped back and forth across that narrative from 2017 back to now 2022, which is like the classic "I don't understand Bitcoin" statement. Blockchain, not Bitcoin. It's interesting that he's gone back to that.
Yeah. So, I just say something about this, and I think you guys probably will agree with me because I actually worked in a large investment bank. There is no upside for them to move in the direction that the three of us are in. And I'll just give you this example. In November of 2020, I bought my first Bitcoins. I think we made a 9-figure investment in Bitcoin across our funds. I then met Richard. I ran into you, Scott. I got involved in the community. And I looked like a genius because those investments went from 17,000 to 69,000. And even though they traded off at the end of the year, I got calls from institutions that yelled at me for buying Bitcoin. And now it's December of 2021. They were calling me saying, thank you for bringing me into the modern world. I'm very grateful to you. And then at the end of this past year, those very same people were calling me saying, you're a complete and absolute moron. How the hell could you put us into Bitcoin? Okay. And so the point I'm making is you have to have a 3-5 year horizon, and you have to have the stomach for the volatility. Now, the one thing that caught me off guard, and it shouldn't because I'm an old Wall Street hand, is the levels of fraud and the levels of leverage. I didn't see that coming. That's my fault. But it was almost as if John Merriweather and Bernie Madoff got together and had a baby, and the baby they created is Sam Bankman-Fried. Okay, I mean, this guy was like levered and fraudulent. We got the 3-hour situation and all that other stuff. And so, despite all of that, Bitcoin really just traded back down to where we were buying it in October, November 2020. So But I look like a horse's ass. I'm a goat. I was a hero temporarily. When I announced the deal with Sam.
Oh, we lost him. I think we lost his connection there. So, yeah, but to his point, I mean, everybody's a genius in a bull market and loves you. I'm going to bring you back on. We got you back.
Yeah, sorry. When I that was my fault. I pressed the button because I'm moving my hands like a wild Italian. When I announced the deal with Sam, I was a hero. He was the second largest cryptocurrency exchange, 12.5% of the volume. He was the darling of the political community. He was well respected. He was speaking, guys, get this. He was speaking at the Goldman Sachs and the JPMorgan conferences via Zoom. Okay, and so I made that announcement on September 7th. I'm back on CNBC explaining the debacle on November the 11th. I went from hero to GOAT in lightning speed. Now, again, why would an institution want to subject themselves to that? Why? And the answer for me is I'm willing to do it because I have the guts to do it, and I believe that we're going to be right. And if I'm right, all of the nonsense that I'm dealing with right now will be in the rearview mirror. We'll be looking around Bitcoin 150,000. Guys, I tried to get you in there as early as I could. Okay, and if I'm wrong, JPMorgan goes on to be JPMorgan. And if I'm right, JPMorgan adopts this in 2025. Maybe Jamie at that point is in retirement as he's closing in on 70. And they've already got all the infrastructure and apparatus put together because his team's been working on it all the while. So tell me what I got wrong about that analysis, guys.
I don't think you got it wrong at all. They don't care if they buy higher. Then the question becomes, why are the Fidelities and BlackRocks of the world willing to more publicly support? I mean, BlackRock is so big and it's such a fraction of their business. Maybe that's why. But why are those companies willing to start, really dipping their toes in the water publicly?
So I want to address that first, and they had Richard's comment because I've talked to leadership in both places, and I'm very proud to tell you guys that SkyBridge is one of the test pilots for the Fidelity 401k program. And so I have purchased Bitcoin in my 401k profit sharing at SkyBridge through Fidelity, and I migrated all of our accounts over to them. In Fidelity's case, they actually believe in the technology. In BlackRock's case, in talking to Larry Fink, I think he's still a skeptic, but he is sensing and feeling a tremendous amount of demand from both institutional and retail clients. And so Larry is an old Wall Street veteran. He does not want to miss that demand by not having an appropriate product for those people. I'll turn it over to Richard, but that's what I really think.
So he's getting ahead of it and providing the infrastructure just in case, and there's nothing lost if it doesn't happen, basically.
100%.
Yeah, I think if you look at those two institutions, they're actually quite different in their views around Bitcoin. Obviously, Fidelity, they got into this space in 2015 when they first started mining Bitcoin, built a custody platform, invested tens of, I think even hundreds of millions of dollars into the build out of that custody solution. They're real believers in Bitcoin. BlackRock, like you say, Anthony, they're just moving along with what the current trend is. And I think what's interesting there, and that there is an interesting point here, is that the ESG component, and BlackRock's the biggest player when it comes to ESG focus. The fact that BlackRock are now able to offer products in Bitcoin tells you that the ESG negative tide against Bitcoin is starting to turn. And I think it's starting to lose credibility. I think Bitcoin clean energy usage in mining is up about 4.7% over the last year. We're now 58% of the network uses clean energy. And obviously, you've got all the work that's now being done in methane mitigation, which is obviously the biggest contributor to greenhouse gases and potentially climate change. So 67% of methane production globally can be reduced by mining Bitcoin. I think this is actually starting to make a very strong case for the pro that Bitcoin can become a carbon negative industry very soon. And the fact that BlackRock's starting to offer products in it suggests that they're feeling more comfortable with the ESG component of Bitcoin, which is a big positive for us.
Yeah, that's a huge point that I had not considered, because that's been the sort of source of the core FUD for years, right? You could even say the ESG narrative was part of the major last correction or the catalyst even for it. So that makes a huge difference. So to get back, since we only have 3 minutes, is now the best time to invest? I think certainly everyone